It's time for Coffee on the Coast Book Banter. Good afternoon and welcome to Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge, and yay, it is our final book banter of 2021, so I'd like to welcome back to the show, Therese Horstgetter of Manitowoc Public Library. Hello, Therese.
Hi, good to see you again.
So nice to see you. I know you're not in your own office, so
No.
that's why you're a little bit lower in our screen.
I'm just shorter today.
So it looks like you've got a good selection of books for us.
We do.
Let's just get right into it. I'm
Okay.
going to pull it up. Tell us about this book called A Girl Named Zippy, Growing Up Small in Moorland, Indiana.
Zippy is one of my real favorites. It is at least 10-year-old memoir written by Haven Kimmel and talks about growing up in Moorland, Indiana. And she was a child that took quite a while to start talking. She had hardly any hair. She had very big eyes. Well, you can see by the cover. She has very big eyes that are slightly close together. And so her mother would say prayers that someday, hopefully, she was going to get hair and start talking. She had, I think, a real high fever along with an illness when she was younger. And like I said, it's a few years since I read it, but it is just a book that I love and I would recommend. She is just a very outspoken little girl once she does start speaking. And actually, after she had not said a word, they couldn't get her to say anything. And she was about 3 years old and they were camping and her dad asked her to do something. And her first words were, "I'll make a deal with you." So you just kind of go from there. That gives you a little bit of a feeling about her. But yeah, there are just a lot of moments in this book. It's just a pleasant read. It's funny. Just the things that she comes out with here and there. And she is very just right out there with a lot of statements. And it seems like several of the children that she kind of hung around with in this small town were pretty much like that. You know, they just were right out there with whatever they had to say. But yeah, she just tells a lot of good stories about growing up.
Is
So,
Zippy a nickname? Like, what is
yes. Yes,
Okay.
I believe it's funny. I always forget what her real name is. I believe it's Julie or Julia. And her dad called her Zippy because she would just dart all over the place. That was her thing. And he nicknamed her Zippy. And she talks about going camping and that she would ride in the camper itself being towed. And she said, I would just flop around in there like a piece of popcorn loose, you know, and so, but it is just a charming book. We had it for book discussion. It is a book discussion kit, and I have recommended it to people for years. It's just a nice oldie that I decided to pick up.
And it's cute. On the front
Share.
cover, it says, droll and distinctive, unerring in relating the universal smallness of a rambunctious yet thoughtful child's world.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool perspective.
Yeah, it's just a good one. If you want it's a relaxing read. It's funny. It's charming. It's just a good book.
Aw, okay, that sounds awesome. So we were just talking about A Girl Named Zippy, Growing Up Small in Moorland, Indiana by Haven Kimmel. So based on the colors that we're wearing and my festive bedazzled hat with my summer reading program pins,
Nice.
let's talk a little bit Christmas. I'm guessing that the book Noel by Greg Kincaid has maybe a Christmas theme?
It does. And the dog features throughout the book. But a lot of this is another kind of smaller town. It's actually the fourth book that has some of the same characters in, but you don't have to read them all. I just read it as a standalone. It's charming, but also, you know, there's the heartwarming issue or, you know, feelings with it, but then there are also a bit of drama, things that happen along the way. And It says, "It is a heartwarming Christmas story about the power of family and the strength and love that comes from our pets." So the dog gets involved along the way. One of the fun parts right in the beginning, they're deciding if a gentleman in town should still be playing Santa because he is getting quite a bit older and they're not sure that this is the best thing for him or for the kids to be continuing. And then someone suggested Mrs. Claus. And so that is kind of a starting point in the story as to what happens after that. It starts out with the dog and the litter that Noel is born into, and then it goes into the town and the people with the Santa issue.
So would you say overall a heartwarming kind of Christmas read?
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And so I noticed on the cover it says that Greg Kincaid is the best-selling author of A Dog Named Christmas. So did you say that some of the characters from A Dog Named Christmas kind of tie into this Noel story?
Yeah, it's the McCrae family, and like I said, I haven't read the others, but I really enjoyed this one without having to know all about them. So it sounds like some people coming back to town that had been gone previously, things like that happening. So I just thought it was it's a nice Christmas story.
Ah, that sounds like a perfect stocking stuffer for somebody that loves to read, right?
Yes.
Hey, so speaking of Christmas, this one looks like it's also got a little bit of a Christmas theme. It's called Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. And I love it because it says, Grisham may well be the best American storyteller writing today. My gosh, that's high praise. Tell me more about this
big
book.
Time. This one, he it's not his norm, of course, that, we're used to legal stories, things from John Grisham, more along that line. But he wrote this one. He's written a couple of others that are not in his usual genre. But this one was very popular when it first came out, and it always comes back around at Christmas time. A couple whose daughter has left the nest and the husband thinks it's going to be hard. They should do something different this year. And he decides to book a trip for him and his wife. And she's a little upset about that because their neighborhood is big into everybody decorates together. There are decorating contests with the neighboring streets, that kind of thing. They always have a huge party and invite their neighbors. So she just says, well, as long as we still donate to a couple of places that are close to us, I will go on the trip. Well, then things take a big turn, and they find out these neighbors who were mad at them for going on this trip are right there behind them, though, when things take a turn and they need to quickly change all of their plans. And so there's the emotions of, there's always a lot around most holidays for people, major holidays like this, but they just take a few different turns along the way. There was a movie based on this, and it was called Christmas with the Cranks. And so you may have seen that along the way, but it stuck pretty much to the book, I would say. People, I think, probably gave more stars to the book than the movie, but yeah, it's a good story. It's very touching, and of course kind of wacky with what all happens and how they have to make do pretty quickly. But it's that thing about people being there for each other over the holidays at any time, but people supporting each other, and especially when emergencies come up.
Aw, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
and you know what? I have not seen the movie. Have you seen Christmas with the Cranks?
I did quite a few years ago, but yeah, it was pretty good. They stayed pretty true to the book, and yeah.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, let's completely shift. So we've just been talked about these two kind of heartwarming Christmas reads, the most recent one called Skipping Christmas. Now let's talk about Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. It says, Death is only their beginning. What does that mean?
This book starts out with a man who is a partner in a law firm, and he is firing a woman who has worked there quite a while. She has a lot of issues in her life and doesn't even realize when he calls her into his office, she thinks he is there to support her. Know that he must know what's happening, and he's there to fire her for one mistake she's made over all the years she's been there. And so that takes place, but then he's like, well, I guess I must be really upset. I've got this feeling in my chest. And that little tingle, and something doesn't feel right, but he goes about his day, and 2 days later, he's dead in his office. And his job is really his life. He has no friends, he has no family, and he is not a kind man. And at his funeral, a woman appears, and she is the reaper that is there to take him to the next stage of his life. And from this reaper, then she takes him with a snap of her fingers to kind of a way station where he meets the ferryman that would take him to then his next stage. And he gets to stay there, though, for a certain amount of time to adjust to the idea that he's dead. And I guess it's kind of that, it's like to support him and help him realize what's happening, and that when he's ready, there's that final step to take place that will take him to the rest of his life. And it is a really, boy, it is sad. It is amazing. The characters that are in this book are just great. And they work in, so the people who actually do that, the reaper and the ferryman, are humans, but they function with the dead people. They have this ability to function with them. And there's more than just, his name is Wallace. There's more than just Wallace. There's another man, and there's a dog. And so they can do certain things once they get used to being dead, but other people can't see them. There are some things they manage to do throughout the book, and it is a long book. It is nearly 400 pages long, and it's not big, quick chapters. It makes its way through, and you see what happens to Wallace there when he has other people in his life, and how the other people have functioned. And then there's also a manager that you don't really get to see that is supposed to be the head of everything. You don't know, is this supposed to be God? Is this supposed to be another being, depending on how you're looking at things? And I was just about sobbing at parts of it. It's very emotional. And, but it's well worth the long read.
Wow. It sounds like such an interesting plot. And I know we said it's not Christmas related, but in a way it has some overtones of A Christmas Carol, right? A little bit of Wallace sounds a bit like Scrooge, and he's visited and has this chance to revisit his life. I mean, then there's a complete departure because he's not coming back. But what an interesting story. What an interesting time.
And the whispering door that's mentioned is the final door that you can go through, and you can hear voices at that door. You don't know what, but that's from the title.
Interesting. Oh, wow. So we were just talking, Therese was telling us about Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. That sounds like a very interesting read. Cool. Well, then let's pivot and go over to this Razorblade Tears, a novel by S.A. Cosby.
Razorblade Tears, I am halfway through right now, and it is being very good. It starts out with um, a man who had done time in prison, and he's, I want to say it's about 15, not quite 15 years out of prison, but he's out of prison for a while. He has not gotten re-involved with anything that he went to prison for, or the people that would put him in a bad way. But when he sees police standing outside his door, he thinks, well, as a black man, I have been stopped in this town probably more than a lot of men. I have, so what are, and they like to search my car. They'll find reasons to stop me, but it's never a good thing to see this outside your door. Well, they are there to tell him that his son is dead. And his son was married to a white man who was the son of another man who had been in prison at some point. Um, Ike is the first man, and Buddy is the second dad. And someone brutally murdered both of the men. And it looks like almost a professional job that someone did or was hired to do. One son is a reporter, and they don't know if that has something to do with it, something he was working on, but the men don't even know each other. I don't think either set of parent or either any of the parents were at the wedding for different reasons. There is a 3-year-old girl that will now live with her grandparents. But at first, the single dad comes to the first man and says, we should do something about this. They did not know each other at all before. They were not in the same prison, anything like that. That's a coincidence that they had both had done prison time. But they weren't going to do anything. It was let the police handle it. And then the first man, Ike, gets a call from the cemetery director and says, you need to come here. And he said, well, I thought they had everything taken care of. And he said, no, that's not it. I need to show you something. And someone had gone to the gravestone, a black marble gravestone, and they cut it in half, or they smashed it in half, and then wrote very nasty remarks on it, and also spray painted it on the grass. And at this point, the first father says, we need to do something. The police aren't doing anything. And now they've done this. After killing our boys, now they're doing this. So it is a violent book. In their first outing, there's quite a bit that takes place and is quite violent. But I'm about halfway through, and it is being a really good book.
And the title really kind of cues you up for what you just described, right? Razorblade,
right,
it has that violence, and then Tears, which has that sorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, I think your description is probably perfect for that title.
Yeah. It's good. I'm hoping for the best to be finishing it. And yeah, so definitely a recommendation.
Nice. I just want to skip back to the book we were just talking about, Under the Whispering Door.
Yes.
When we were talking about it, this chat came in, and I didn't get a chance to put it up, but Stacy said, this sounds like such a good read, and I completely agree.
It is. And I do have to say, besides that one being, it was a great read. I wouldn't want to miss a word of it. It was well worth it. And he also wrote, I don't remember the title of it, but I was at Barnes & Noble this weekend, and his previous book was out on display with 5 stars from staff. So
Oh,
there's a second recommendation there for that author too.
okay. So that author is T.J. Klune. So Under the
Yes,
Whispering Door is not his only book.
right, right.
No.
Yeah,
Excellent. Hey, so you're in the middle of Razorblade Tears, so you
I
don't
am.
know yet if they've gotten justice or figured out why anything
No,
happened.
no,
Okay. Wow, that one's heavy. So let's
it
then,
is.
we started with Christmas, then we got a little darker with death, and now really dark with Razorblade Tears. Let's
Yeah.
completely shake it up and tell us about the Midwest Survival Guide. How we
Okay.
talk, love, work, drink, and eat everything with
With
ranch by
ranch.
Charlie Behrens.
Well, anybody familiar with Charlie Behrens can pretty much guess what this book is going to be like. And it's just new. We have a copy still on order and just one that has started circulating. So I haven't had a chance. I just thought as soon as I saw it coming out, I thought I would mention it here because I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to look into getting it.
So this
And
is a new release. This is something
yep,
brand
it
new.
is a new release. We just have, like I said, one circulating copy, one on order, and I wouldn't be surprised with what I would assume are going to be a great number of holds that, you know, we're going
Mhm.
to possibly, even some of our other libraries, possibly be adding copies along the way once we get quite a bit of a hold list. So, yeah, I would think it's pretty funny. I saw him once, and that was probably 6 or 7 years ago, and that was a laugh till I cried kind of show. So, I can only imagine the book should be great, and yeah,
Yeah.
not
So we
much.
should point out that wait, Tim just said Switchblade Tears to Charlie Behrens. I may have whiplash.
We'll take it easier next time. We would put Zippy in between. Yeah.
That's the beauty of reading, right? Like there are so many awesome options out there, and it's
Yes,
okay
there
to
are.
explore the deep and the dark, and you can also then, offset it with something sweet and light and funny and the whole gamut in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Charlie Behrens, right, is the host of the Manitowoc Minute. Do
Mhm.
you think that, so of course the book is popular here. Is it
Right.
as popular amongst the other libraries around the state?
Actually, if I don't have this wrong, somebody mentioned that it is on the New York Times bestseller list already. That
What?
coming out, it was already out there. Now, I may be mm, a tad off, if anything. But yeah, so I thought, wow, we're just getting it in and it's already out there, that much of a seller. But he does a lot more than just, I guess, what people are aware of around here. When I looked into just how many places he has been and things he's done, he's, well known much more than our Manitowoc area.
Right. Right. And you don't have to
Yeah,
be from here to appreciate the humor, right? Like I'm pretty
right.
sure it's probably funny regardless of
Oh,
where you're
oh,
located.
I would think so. I would think so because even in his act, he switched between, the Manitowoc Minute kind of thing and then Charlie Barron's just doing his own thing. So that was, yeah, I think the book should be really good. I'm on hold for it and yep,
Nice. All right.
yeah.
So I'm going to give Tim whiplash one more time. And I'm not even going to be talking about a book for a second. Did you get a chance to see the reindeer at the library on Sunday?
I didn't. Oh, are you asking me or Tim?
Oh, I'm
So,
no asking you.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. I just saw that he had another thing pop up. Sorry.
Oh, well, um,
I didn't get to see him. I was out of town, so I wasn't able to. But
okay. Bev just wrote that you're right, Therese. The book by
okay,
Charlie Behrens is on the New York Times bestseller list.
yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
nice, and good
Very
for
cool.
him.
Yeah. Well, and it's also cool just to think that the word Manitowoc is hanging around on the New York Times bestseller
Uh-huh.
list, right?
Yeah, nice for a good reason.
Very cool. Awesome, Therese. This was awesome. So the holidays are coming up. All of these reads are good for you to enjoy while you've got some time
Yep.
off. Maybe perfect stocking stuffers for book lovers in your life. Any time is really a good time to read.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing these recommendations. Wishing all of our viewers a very, very happy and safe holidays. And there is one more chat here. Tim said, I did. They were fantastic. We're talking about the reindeer and fantastic sports in the slop that was coming down.
Yeah,
Super
that was a
awesome
messy day.
Thanks for letting us know that, Tim. All right. Happy holidays, everyone. And we will see
Happy
you
holidays.
next time on Coffee on the Coast. Take care, Therese.
You too.